Amy Smith. I'm the program manager with Rise Vermont, and today we have Jessica Frost, one of our wellness specialists.
Good morning.
Good morning. And our program assistant for Rise Vermont, Faith Dubois.
Hi.
And we are here today to continue our series on tips and tricks for 2019. So welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to have this conversation because today we're going to talk about food, one of my favorite subjects. And we're going to talk about tips and tricks for meal prep. So I know from what both of you bring in for lunches at work that you are expert meal preppers every week. So I wanted to provide people in the audience that watch our show ideas, tips, tricks, anything that strikes you as what makes a successful week for meal prep for you. So why don't I start with you, Jess? I think my first question is, what's the best time to meal prep? Like, when do you do it?
Well, I have a system that I use.
Systems.
So
Those are good. Okay.
every weekend, usually Friday night, I go through my cookbooks that I like to use, or if I've saved any recipes on the web, and I'll pick like probably 4 a week, and then I make my shopping list off of that. So I'll have my 4 meals. I usually double all of them because we're a family of 5, and I want more than one meal. I love leftovers. I've heard people who do not like leftovers. I love them. They're the best.
That's why you always have a really good lunch, because you always have great leftovers. I was like, what is she eating?
Yeah, just to be able to get 2 meals out of something, and that saves so much time. So we always have like the same foods for breakfast and lunch. That's pretty standard. But then dinners, I always mix up. So I'll make my shopping list. I use Hannaford to go, not to promote one store over another, but the convenience of typing it in and then just swinging through and picking it up is huge for me. And it's $5 extra to do it, but I avoid all those impulse items. I stick to my list.
You're actually saving money in the long run.
I think so.
Yeah.
I only shop once a week. I
Okay.
don't run back to the store unless it's like milk or something I can just grab really quickly. And then that's kind of it. I try to do at least like 2 crock pot meals.
Okay.
So I can just throw it all in the night before, and then it's ready when I get home. And those I always double. I have like a giant crock pot, so we can get 2 meals out of that. And then I usually have something quick, like eggs with veggies for dinner and maybe toast, or like something I can just throw together really quickly. So I only end up cooking really 3 nights a week, and at least 1 or 2 of those are out of the crock pot.
And then the other ones
really
might be like a
minimal.
casserole or something, or a soup?
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. I really try to not put any time in during the week,
Okay.
because by the time the kids get home, we usually have some sort of activity to run to. My husband travels a ton, so it's kind of just me doing most of it during the week. So I have to have it really simple, but I also want it to be healthy. So the crock pot is really one of my best friends.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Faith? What's your trick for time and how to save time and make meals easy?
I'm not quite as organized as Jess is. If I know I'm going to have a fairly open weekend, I will get ambitious enough to choose a couple recipes, and I have some sort of standard go-to. So I have like a spicy black bean recipe that I love to make, and I have a curried chickpea recipe that's one of my favorites. But they take a little more time, and generally what I'll do if I don't do anything else is I will just make sure that I stock up on like veggies and frozen veggies. And so on usually like Sunday morning, I just like to kind of putter around the kitchen, and I'll bake a bunch of sweet potatoes, and I'll roast a bunch of vegetables, and I'll try to do at least 1 whole grain, so like a brown rice or red rice or quinoa, something like that. And then maybe like chop up a huge salad that'll take us through the week. And then maybe cut up some fruit, have a fruit salad. And then I also like to do some breakfast things, so like maybe a baked oatmeal. And then if you, it almost comes out like a flat cake, and you can kind of cut it up into squares and just have that with like some nut butter and some fruit for breakfast during the week.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's really yummy.
You might have to share that recipe. Baked oatmeal. It's awesome.
Yeah, or there's I have other recipes for like breakfast cookies, which are it's called a cookie, but it's pretty healthy. It's like rolled oats with some nut butter and maybe like some cinnamon and banana and a little bit of maple syrup. And so you can actually have those for breakfast. I like to put nut butter on everything, so I'll throw some nut butter on those too and have that with like some fruit or a banana. And then, so I do end up doing a little bit of cooking during the week. So I have like all my sort of staples and my base things. And then during the week, I can just kind of throw them together. You can take the grain and your veggies and then put a little bit of like a sauce or dressing and some chunks of the sweet potato and maybe some avocado and have a Buddha bowl. I love Buddha bowls. And then you can I like to take the sweet potatoes and just kind of cut them open and reheat them and then just put like black beans and salsa on top of them. You could do that with baked white potatoes as well, or you can like go crazy with the toppings for those. And then you could sort of put your roasted veggies all around the outside of it. So that's...
Yeah, that's a good, actually last night I baked a whole bag of potatoes after dinner. I just put them in the oven. So then tonight we're gonna use some leftover hamburger and some, like a can of beans and cheese, and that's dinner. Frozen veggies, frozen broccoli.
And you put that on top of the potato,
Yeah.
so then you just have like the stuffed potato almost.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
Yeah, and it's so easy. The potatoes are the longest thing to cook, so if you have them all ready, it makes it a lot quicker.
So you don't have to do it tonight when you get home and be like, 45 minutes or however long it takes to bake a potato.
Yeah.
It's ready when you get home and you just have to heat it up and add the toppings.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's very smart.
And if you made your chili in your crock pot, then you can just dump those on your potatoes too. You just go crazy. And I do love the crock pot, but I don't really like following recipes so much. So like my go-to lately is I'll take like a couple bags of frozen spinach and throw them in the crock pot with a little bit of like a bouillon and then some chickpeas and sometimes like some spaghetti sauce and just like let that simmer and get all like cooked down. And it's just, I'm really liking it. And I don't have to think about it. I just throw it in. I don't have to measure.
Yeah, another thing I've been doing, you're like making me remember some of my other things. Whenever I prep veggies, I've been saving all the little ends, and then I have some bones from. We try to buy like our coworker sells pork, so we'll buy like half a pig at a time, and then I like having the bones, so I'll take all the bones and the little scraps of veggies and make a broth every week. So I put that in the crock pot just for like 24 hours, and then strain it all out. And then I use that broth as like a base for a lot of things during the week.
That's awesome.
That's
Do you
supposed to be
freeze
healthy.
extra or
I
do
never
you
have.
never
Like
have
we
extra?
usually, I make like 10 cups a week, and we usually go through
Wow.
it because you can just throw frozen veggies in it
Yeah.
and beans and have an instant soup, or I'll
Yeah.
use it for a soup that I make over the weekend or in the crock pot.
Nice.
One of the things I do that I have a huge freezer, and I'll buy rotisserie chickens or make a rotisserie chicken. I was actually buying chickens from somebody a few years ago, and after we eat it, I take that and I put it in the freezer. So when I'm ready, because I'm not great about making broth every week, but I'll throw the whole thing in the freezer with if celery's starting to go bad is the other thing that you can freeze, or carrots. If you have an onion that's kind of on the edge, you throw it in a big Ziploc plastic bag. And then when I have time on a Sunday, I'll take all of that and throw it in a stove top. But I've never thought about making broth in a crock pot. So you just turn it on low for 24 hours and it just cooks down, and
Yeah, it's delicious.
that is a really good idea. That is a
Bone broth.
bone broth.
So you could do it with all your veggie scraps that are in your freezer.
Yeah. I have the veggie scraps in the freezer with the chicken. I might do that this weekend. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's delicious.
So you've named kind of some favorite go-tos, which is great. It's nice to have some breakfast options because that's another time of day that I feel,
Yeah.
that it's really easy to go to the cereal for the kids. So having some healthier breakfast items, I think, that are ready to go in the morning that you don't have to think too much about is a really nice option.
And I'm sure you guys probably already make the overnight oats. But those are nice too, because if you get up in the morning and you don't want a cold overnight oat, you can throw them in the microwave and just like heat it up, and it's almost like having hot oatmeal with the fruit.
So maybe describe that. So is that like a jar?
Yeah, I usually just put it in a jar, and it's a layer of oats and then a layer of fruit. And I actually use frozen fruit for that. And then I just cover it with some non-dairy milk. And you can that's a great vehicle for seeds and nuts. So you could chop up some nuts and put them on there. You could put your hemp seeds, your flax seed, your chia seeds, because those are really great for omega-3s, and it's hard to get them into your meals sometimes, so that's a great place for those. And then the other thing I like to do sometimes is, instead of using the milk, if you mix it all together with yogurt. So I'll do like a non-dairy yogurt, or you could use a regular yogurt, just watching out for the sugar content in your yogurt, and then kind of mix it up and then let it sit, and it gets almost like the consistency of cookie dough. It's really yummy.
But it gets soft enough that you can eat the oats, and they don't
soften
feel, they soften right up
Yeah,
if they're
it's
all
not
mixed
like eating
together.
raw oats, no. Yeah. And if you put raisins in there, like if you do the yogurt and oats with some raisins, it's like oatmeal cookie dough.
That sounds really good. My other one is I bought a Ninja Bullet a few years ago, and I make smoothies in that really quickly with frozen fruit.
Yeah.
I know you guys
Yeah.
both of you love frozen vegetables and fruit.
So convenient.
Yeah, it's really convenient, but mixing that up with some greens and a protein powder possibly, bananas. I got into a habit of doing nut butter, banana, and chocolate. It was like drinking a Reese's peanut butter.
That sounds amazing.
It was really good.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah, last night I did an overnight oats, but I only did the milk, oats, and frozen blueberries. So now you have me thinking what I can add
Did
to
you
it.
heat it up in the morning? Did you microwave it?
I did.
You
It was for
did?
the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. And so
And
it was
actually,
warm. So they ate it kind of as
yeah.
an oatmeal in the morning, and they
Yeah.
liked it?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
love oatmeal.
They love oatmeal. Yeah, my kids love oatmeal too.
And I made one for me too, but I mixed some eggs into it. And that was actually really good. So I heated it up in the microwave for like 5 minutes, and the eggs kind of cooked into the
wow.
oatmeal with the blueberries.
That's different.
Yeah.
Was good?
It was good.
Huh.
That does sound
Some
good.
extra protein.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a great idea. One-stop shopping.
So one last, we're almost out of time. So one last thought of something that you make regularly. I know Faith has some, the sheet pan thing. So and anything that you guys make regularly that you would love to share with the audience.
I pretty regularly make a baked bean dish that's a crock pot dish. And then I can just like switch out the beans for, like I made it around Thanksgiving with Jacob's cattle beans. You can use heirloom beans, or you can use like the straight, navy beans, but it's just really, really delicious. And it's very filling, and it's just great, next to a starch or just by itself for a snack.
So it's a baked bean dish.
Yeah, it's a crock pot baked beans. So I think it'd be a great idea, like just go find a recipe for crock pot baked beans and just try different ones until you find one that you like, because it's a great sort of staple for me.
Do you make it from dried beans or canned?
Yeah, so I just soak the beans overnight.
Wow. Okay, interesting.
I really like to mix it up a lot. There's not a lot of things I repeat, but unless I love it. But like if I'm in a rush, and I like this week, and I haven't meal prepped as well as I usually do, I have a few go-tos, usually eggs. We always have eggs, and I can put some veggies in there. The kids like some cheese. We could put it on toast, and that's a perfectly fine dinner. And then the other thing I tend to have on hand is like a can of refried beans and salsa and tortilla wraps.
You can always do tacos.
Can always do tacos.
Always do taco night.
And then with the frozen veggies, like I always buy a giant bag of frozen broccoli or the mixed frozen veggies. So I can always put it on top of the veggies if I don't feel like having, the wrap.
That's good to know. I love that. Well, thank you both for coming and sharing your thoughts on tips and tricks for meal prep. It is one of the most, I think, important things to keep your week going well. So both emotional health and physical, as well as physical health. Because when you have food in your fridge, you're less likely to go out to eat. You're less likely to feel stress about what you're feeding the children or the family or yourself, so that you feel nourished all week long. So I think this is an important topic, and I appreciate both of you talking about it.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.